This topic that I'm going to talk about today is not a favorite of many people. And yet, it's a way of freedom, emotional freedom for you when a relationship or several relationships in the past have not ended well. David Essel here. What I'm going to talk about is something very hard for most of us to do. And especially if you've only broken up with someone for a week or 2 weeks, you can probably look at me as I'm insane. Maybe even at 6 months, you might go, I'll never do that. But this is about being free. This is about being emotionally, physically, spiritually, psychologically free from unhealthy past relationships. And I think there's many tools that we use in the world of therapy to help people overcome past breakups, bad love relationships, etc. But there's a huge part of it that we have to do. We can give as a counselor, I can give you all the tools in the world, but if you don't follow them, they're not going to be effective, right? This is one that's huge. Hey, David Essel here, 45 years as a counselor, a master life coach, #1 best-selling author. I do a lot of different things in the world of personal growth. Love everything I do. But I'm going to tell you a story about a guy that was really in love with this woman, and it was a hellacious relationship. It ended up being worse than anything he could have ever imagined himself getting into. Every area of life that he was in with this person for a couple years was negatively affected. He didn't get out of there without really bad wounds, really bad trauma. And so as we're working together and helping him to heal, the very first thing when I said to him, I think it'd be a good idea, not to get into any serious relationships for at least 6 months to a year. Oh my God, he couldn't have agreed more. And then we got into all these different exercises we do, writing exercises, and he was doing fantastic and he's moving forward. And all of a sudden, one day he comes in and he says, last week you said something about you wanted to teach me how to have compassion for my former girlfriend. David, I don't think she deserves it. I don't think she deserves any of my compassion. And I said, I understand that. And I've been in your situation. I've dated people that have betrayed me deeply, that have taken money from me, that have promised me things and broken every promise they had. And, I was raised by a mom and dad that said, if you make a promise, keep it, right? And, I got wrapped up into some people that were just extremely unhealthy. So when I'm working with this guy, I got it, right? I get him. I understand why when we talk about having compassion for someone who betrayed us, who lied to us constantly or whatever, it's a really hard thing. It's a big jump, but it's called a jump in human consciousness. And so when we do those things we'd rather not do, we're actually raising our highest level of human consciousness. We're moving up that scale to be able to forgive and to be able to let go. I mean, really forgive a former partner that was terrible to you is an art. It's a science, but it's all for you. It's not about them. So what do we do? So with this gentleman, what I had him do is when he came back and said, do you believe, she did this and she did this and some really horrendous things this woman did to him. And then I said to him, I want you to go home and I want you to do this exercise. I want you to write out why someone like her would treat you this way. I want you were together for a couple years. You know about her background. You know everything. I want you to write it out. I want you to write out the things that she's gone through. Yes, she's treated you like trash. Oh my God, she's lied to you constantly. She's put you in horrendous positions. However, in order for us to really forgive and to let people go, we need to try to get into their shoes. So I want you to go and write all the things that that she went through from little girl all the way up until today. And I think you're going to have an understanding. And he said, I'll give it a shot, but I don't know if it's going to make a difference. I said, over time it will. So he did a phenomenal job. And he comes in next week and he sits down and he says, thank you, David. Thank you for opening my eyes. He said, I can now go into a deeper level of forgiveness. I have no interest in ever getting back with her, but at least I can have compassion and I can have some understanding of why she has the attitude she has. David, she told me from the beginning she doesn't like men, and that should have been a huge wake-up call, right? But I was so into her. We were on the phone talking, and she's saying, I don't really like men. I don't trust men. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of men I hate. And I took that, but I didn't do anything with it, David, and then as I realized she never knew her father. And a lot of women that never have a chance to meet their father, they have a tendency to have negative opinions about male role models. Now, it starts out on the subconscious level, right? Because they look around and they see all these other little girls and boys with dads and they don't have one. So they have a tendency to get angry as little kids. Now, they don't know they're angry. They're missing out on life, right? That's what they feel. Like their friends have moms and dads and they don't. And of course, years ago, this was a lot less common than it is today. But as he started thinking, he said, David, he said, I have a lot of compassion. She has a lot of anger at men. And it looks like it could be started because she never knew her father. And now she's just carried it out. And, as he goes in and tells the story, her mother never remarried, so there was never a positive male role model that was with her through the most formidable years, up to 18, 19, 20, right? And then he started writing all these other things, of how her mother was extremely tough on her, forced her to marry someone she didn't want to marry, forced her to have a child, like all these things you can't believe happen in today's world, still can happen in today's world. So as he kept doing this writing, he started to have more compassion for her, understanding that she really doesn't like men and she doesn't trust men. She had a very controlling mother. So any guy that comes across her path that might remind her of her mother, she goes ballistic. And as he's telling me these things, he's going, David, this is exactly what happened. When I told her that A was unacceptable or B was unacceptable, she would fight me like an animal. And it was just the weirdest thing. I'd never seen a woman. And now you're asking me to write like this, and I see that she was traumatized. Many times during her life, she was threatened. She was in a business where she was threatened. Her own life was threatened. So this is a woman that has a lot of trauma, David. This is a woman that never could be with a guy more than a night. She never wanted to be in a relationship. She never was in a real serious relationships until I met her. And so she didn't even know how to be in a relationship, David. And as he continued to talk, he started to calm down. And at the end of it, now this took several weeks of us working through all these issues, he looked at me and he said, oh my God, I have so much compassion for this woman. This woman needs so much deep therapy work, and I'm not someone who knows how to do that stuff, so I can't help her. The best thing for me to do is to stay away and then just realize I can pray for her every day, but I just can't be involved with someone with that much trauma. So think about that. His compassion for all of her trauma turned his anger, rage, vindictiveness into empathy and compassion for her. Listen, I know this is a tough exercise, but it sets you free. He now is completely free. He doesn't think about her. He doesn't ruminate over her. He doesn't have revenge like he did. He doesn't have vindictive thoughts like he used to have. It's completely neutralized. Now, if he ever runs into her, we already have a plan. He already knows exactly what he's going to do and say and everything. He's very calm about it. If you have someone from your past that you haven't been able to let go of, contact me at talkdavid.com. There's many tools like this that we have to help people release those individuals. It could be parents, siblings, lovers, grandparents, teachers, it doesn't matter. If you have someone in your life or multiple people in your life that you've been betrayed by and you just have these still feelings of vindictiveness or frustration or anger, let's do the work. I want you free. Just like my client who's completely free. He's already now finally going to be dating, and he's waited a long time to date because he knew he wasn't ready. And through this exercise of compassion for an ex-lover that betrayed him greatly, he is now on a great pathway to healing. I want to do the same for you. Reach out at talkdavid.com. We have 5 free books there as well. Have a beautiful day.